let's just dive right into this. Close your eyes for a second and picture a pirate adventure. Right now, you're probably visualizing cursed gold, a mysterious map marked with an X, some dangerous tropical islands, and of course, a charming villain with a missing limb, right? Well, long before the modern movies, the video games, and all those pop culture tropes we know and love, there was one gritty, brilliant blueprint that literally started it all. Today, in this explainer, we're unpacking Robert Louis Stevenson's absolute masterpiece, Treasure Island. Think of our agenda today as a weathered map we're about to navigate. We'll be charting our course through 6 key waypoints. First up, the original pirate myth. Second, the map and voyage. Third, mutiny on the island. Fourth, the ultimate pirate villain. Fifth, the treasure hunt. And finally, adventure with teeth. Okay, let's set sail.
Waypoint number 1, the original pirate myth. This is the blueprint for modern adventure.
Now, over the years, Treasure Island has kind of been treated like a simple, childish bedtime story. But honestly, when it was published back in the 1880s, it was a dangerous, fast-moving, and totally mythic novel that defined an entire literary genre. Seriously, almost all of our collective pirate imagination comes from this single book. The X-marked treasure map, buried pirate gold, one-legged seafaring men, tropical island danger, taverns full of shadowy threats, mutiny, deep betrayal, and of course, the charming, morally slippery villain. Literally, every single time you see a squawking carrot on a pirate's shoulder or a map with a red cross in pop culture, you are looking directly at Robert Louis Stevenson's imagination. He didn't just write a fun story, he actually created the entire visual and emotional language of pirate adventure.
Moving on to waypoint 2, the map and voyage. Leaving the safe world behind.
You know, every great adventure needs a catalyst, right? A moment where the ordinary world is just completely shattered. Let's trace young Jim Hawkins' chronological journey here, because his shift from a mundane life into absolute peril is remarkably fast. For days, Jim is just working at his family's quiet Admiral Benbow Inn. Nothing crazy. But then, this terrifying, heavy-drinking old pirate named Billy Bones arrives, and he brings the raw danger of the sea right to Jim's doorstep. When Billy dies, Jim and his mom discover a mysterious oilskin packet in his sea chest, and inside, a map. Within weeks, Jim is swept away to the Bristol docks by the wealthy, but let's face it, pretty careless Squire Trelawney and the highly rational Dr. Livesey. They buy a ship, the Hispaniola, and hire the intensely disciplined Captain Smollett. For months, they're out at sea on what feels like this grand, heroic voyage. But as we'll see, this journey ultimately dumps them onto Skeleton Island, where the violent echoes of the infamous pirate Captain Flint are just waiting for them.
Which brings us to part 3. Mutiny on the island. The survival thriller begins.
The absolute genius of this story is how abruptly the tone shifts. We go from this breezy, optimistic ocean crossing straight into a claustrophobic, lantern-lit thriller. And it all pivots on one incredibly famous scene. Picture this. Jim is just looking for an apple in the dark, so he climbs into a nearly empty barrel on the deck. And from inside that barrel, he overhears the crew secretly plotting a bloody mutiny. Which leads us to the terrifying question at the absolute center of this whole story. Who can Jim actually trust? Imagine the paranoia. You're miles out at sea, surrounded by a crew of tough old salts, and you suddenly realize the men you've been eating and joking with are actually former members of Captain Flint's ruthless pirate crew, and they're just waiting for the right moment to slit your throat.
And the thing is, once they hit land, the illusion of a clean, heroic quest just completely shatters. The island is not a paradise. It's a place of traps, fear, sweltering heat, hidden violence, and constantly shifting alliances. The loyal crew and the mutineers violently split. They end up barricading themselves in this old wooden stockade amidst choking musket smoke and actual cannon fire. Jim has to take massive life-threatening risks, sneaking away, cutting the ship adrift, and trying to navigate this damp, feverish, and deeply hostile environment all on his own. Let's look at waypoint 4, the ultimate pirate villain, the man with one leg. Okay. Every great thriller needs an unforgettable antagonist, and man, this book gives us the gold standard. Look at the duality of the ship's cook, Long John Silver, and you'll instantly see why he remains literature's greatest villain. To young Jim, Silver is just the charming ship's cook. He's fatherly, he's funny, he's incredibly intelligent, and highly socially adaptable. He's the kind of guy you genuinely want to hang out with. But underneath that friendly facade, he is a ruthless pirate leader, manipulative, morally dangerous, and capable of extreme violence without a single second of remorse. See, Silver isn't some mindless screaming monster. He's way scarier than that. He uses his charisma, flattery, and social intelligence as a weapon. He knows exactly how to make you trust him right before he destroys you.
Just listen to this chilling quote from Silver himself. "There's never a man looked me between the eyes and seen a good day afterwards. You may lay to that." Wow. I mean, that proves without a doubt that this story was never meant to be for little kids. Silver commands total absolute fear. He keeps a crew of bloodthirsty pirates completely in line just through sheer psychological menace.
Waypoint 5, the treasure hunt, gold and obsession. So let's see how all this obsession builds toward the climax. Enter Ben Gunn. He's a sailor who's been marooned on this island for 3 years. Ben definitely adds a strange, almost tragic comic energy to the story. But more importantly, his desperate isolation shows us exactly what this greed for pirate gold reduces a human being to. Here is a quick breakdown of the final rapid-fire beats of the treasure hunt, because it's absolute chaos. First, completely unbeknownst to the pirates, Ben Gunn has already found the treasure. He secretly moved all the buried gold to his cave months ago. So then the mutineers follow the map expecting all these riches, but they fall right into an empty treasure pit. Suddenly, our heroes launch a chaotic ambush from the tree line, scattering the surviving, panic-stricken pirates. And finally, Long John Silver, seeing that his mutineers have clearly lost, he instantly betrays them and switches sides back to the heroes just to save his own neck. It completely subverts everything you expect. The whole resolution relies on luck, strategy, and shifting loyalties, rather than some clean, perfect, heroic victory.
And here is the real kicker about that final outcome. Evil is not perfectly defeated. Long John Silver just slips away. On the voyage home, Silver actually manages to escape in a shore boat, and he takes a sack of the gold coins with him. It is a brilliantly morally ambiguous ending. The villain doesn't hang. He doesn't die in a duel. He simply vanishes back into the world, which is exactly what makes his character feel so untouchable, so real, and so incredibly mythic.
And that brings us to our final stop, Section 6, Adventure with Teeth, the Dangers of the Adult World.
When you really look at it, the themes of this book are surprisingly dark. The pursuit of gold corrupts almost everyone, and not just the filthy pirates, but the respectable, wealthy adults too. For Jim Hawkins, this isn't just a fun adventure. It's a harsh, sudden coming-of-age story. He discovers that the adult world is full of lies, violence, and profound moral compromise. 15 men on the dead man's chest. Yo-ho-ho and a bottle of rum. That iconic ghostly sea shanty, sung by Billy Bones at the very beginning of the novel, perfectly captures that haunting legacy. It permanently shaped the visual and emotional language of every pirate myth we know today. It gave us the weathered map, the remote island, the mutiny, and the undeniable thrill of the high seas.
Which leaves us with one final, lingering question. Will you ever look at a smiling villain the same way again? Treasure Island remains a towering classic because it understands something absolutely fundamental. Adventure is exciting precisely because it is so dangerous. Underneath the gold, the ships, and the cinematic action, this is a brilliant story about the terrifying realization that the most dangerous threat isn't always a screaming monster. Sometimes, the deadliest danger arrives with a smile, standing right beside you.